Short and straight to the point. I absolutely love.
Spoiler alert.
The car. And this is talking about, this car is 20 years old coming up this year.
What are some of the things you love about it besides the fact that, when it's weather like this, we don't really have to worry as much?
Well, let's see. First and foremost, the ride is very smooth and very comfortable. I think Toyotas and Lexuses probably ride the smoothest out of everything I've driven.
Better than that BMW that we had to rent when we were coming from wherever.
Very funny joke. That was a nightmare. No offense to BMW lovers, but that was a horrendous experience of 9 hours of driving. Anyway, but yeah, so second piece is it's very comfortable seats. Even after 20 years of these seats, and these are the original seats that came with the car, we didn't replace nothing, they're still very comfortable. We drive a lot, we drive long distance a lot. A 9-hour trip to Miami from Georgia is easy in this car.
So like some of the features and things that we have done to this vehicle since we've had it, you want to talk about that real quick? Like for instance, this in-dash radio.
So I think the first thing we did, obviously, wheels and tires, because that's kind of...
Talk about that first?
Yeah, well, this is how it started, right? And even with that change, anybody who does these changes to the car should know they can affect the quality of your ride. How it feels, how shaky it is, and so how loud it is. And even after changing wheels and tires, it's still incredibly smooth. The dash is absolutely incredible. It was an old dashboard with an old, radio and the old screen. And I think, when did we do it?
It's been about a year and a half.
Yeah, about a year and a half. And it was such a massive improvement. It really did bring the quality of a ride for me up, because on these long trips, I prefer look at the bigger screen when I'm looking at the map than the small one. This thing works great. A massive game changer.
Are there any downsides to doing this mod? Because there's a lot of controversy on the interwebs about doing the Tesla screen in the Land Cruiser. Any bad things about it besides how the Bluetooth hangs and stuff like that?
No, the only beef kind of I have with it is sometimes when you in and out of the car within 5 minutes or so, your phone still kind of connected, but when you restart the car, it doesn't want to connect properly. Other than that, this radio worked great. One more thing is a small lag in the sound.
Oh, when you're watching YouTube videos?
Yes, so we had it for our son because he sits in the back, so we put it on for him to see, and it definitely lags a little bit. But other than that, this thing is great.
All right, so we talked about the tires, we talked about the modifications, the radio that we've done, which we haven't done super crazy modifications to this car. Is there anything that you feel like this Land Cruiser is missing that modern cars have that you're like, oh man, but it would be nice to have X?
Well, let's start from the beginning. I don't drive modern cars, so I can't tell you what the new bells and whistles are out there. I think the big one for me would be the, I don't really care about the actual sensors on the car, but I do care about the backup camera. And this car actually had it, but when we switched to the radio, that camera got disconnected and we never got a chance or have enough time to connect it back. But one thing I would love to have is that 360 view of the parking and then bird's view of the parking. Is that how it's called? I think that's really the only thing. Because we've been driving older cars, I'm so used to the old school driving, I don't really need all the new little things. So I can't really tell you. I think it would be nice to have some, but is it really necessary? No. I feel like for me it's more of a peace of mind that I don't have as many things about to break in this car.
Right.
And that is also a huge relief when you have busy lives with busy schedules, full-time jobs, kids, small kids, and then everything else on top of it. The last thing I want is to worry about that something broken or something got disconnected, a wiring issue or whatever that is, because these cars are now come fully packed with all these bells and whistles.
Anything else you want to say about this 2005 Land Cruiser that you've been driving for the last few years before we move on to the other one?
No, I love the car. I wouldn't change it. I'm planning on driving it until it no longer can drive, which I probably have at least 10 more years. I'm thinking.
Oh yes.
No, I love the car. Absolutely love the car. And just like Reza said, either it's snow or flood, which Atlanta apparently seems to be flooding a lot lately. There's a never worry that we cannot get somewhere.
Absolutely.
It's always like, you know what, if we have to, we will absolutely make it. And we've taken this car on the, like I said, multiple road trips. We've taken this car and the other car that Reza is about to talk about on the camping trips. We've tried going through all kinds of terrain, and it's always been fun. We never got stuck. We never had any issues. Very reliable, very comfortable, and people who know, they know.
Typical Atlanta stuff. Empty shelves. People raided all the meat. See if we can find milk. Milk cow. All right, this portion brings us to the back end of the Land Cruiser. And why is it so special? Because of that. This nifty tailgate situation right here. After having a tailgate, I don't think I'll ever own a car without a tailgate again.
This is one of the best features of this car.
Yes, it is. It is a changing table. It's an eating table. It's a chair. It's a couch. It's a somewhere where you can set up a television monitor if you like to.
Camp, that's where you cook.
It's a table. I mean, this thing doubles as so many different things, and having a car with a tailgate, oh my gosh, I will never ever do it again. That's why it's like, I don't know if I could ever own a 911 again, but that's another story in another video. But
the only thing I forgot to say is the amount of space this car has. The third row seating, shockingly, we actually use it a lot.
Yes, we do.
So that's a big plus.
G-Wagon, now that's a car that I could consider getting again. That's another story too, though. All right, so now we have switched cars, and we are in my 1999 100 Series Land Cruiser that I've had a little bit longer than the other Land Cruiser by maybe a year?
Yeah.
Roughly?
I think so.
And this is after, 3-ish, 2 or 3 years, or however long it's been, years of ownership. This is my favorite vehicle that I've ever owned for so many different reasons. And the reliability, the comfort, the style, especially since retro is so popping right now, like the retro nature of everything. Like when I get in Teslas and all these other modern vehicles, and you look at like the center of a Tesla and you got to touch the screen and then manipulate all these other screens to get to where you want to go to, I'm tired of that stuff. Like I like how this is. Like point the camera at this real quick. You see how it's just boom. I want to change my temperature. There we go. I want to change the fan speed. There we go. I want to turn the rear fan on. There we go. I want to, melt the defrost on my mirrors. There. Antenna up, down, there. Hazard. There. It's easy. Like lockers. Diff. Everything is very analog. The most, I guess, high-tech thing that I have going on here is this Boss audio radio system that I have in here, which I feel like is a massive upgrade for this truck because the system that comes in it is very antiquated. And if you're going to update anything, it should be the stereo in these things, which I have done, and I am so happy with it because it gives me, I get all the retro features that I like, but then I get all of the upgrades that I like because I'm piecemealing this thing together myself. So it's exactly what I want it to be, which also is probably part of why I love it so much, outside of the comfort and the reliability and how, I guess, it's not as cost prohibitive to own or scary to own like, these new G-Wagons, these new Porsche SUVs. I mean, you can go all the way up the line now to like Ferrari and Bentley and everybody else that's in the SUV space. Those cars, I just like, when we were having a conversation off camera the other day, and we were talking about the cost of ownership for modern vehicles now. And a friend of mine is considering leasing a brand new Range Rover. And I don't know how many of y'all have actually looked out there and checked, but leasing a brand new Range Rover can cost you anywhere around $2,500 a month. And after you go through the terms of the lease, you're essentially paying for the entire car. Like, to me, I mean, to each his own, but for me, I just don't understand that. When you can get something that is so comfortable, so proven, so bulletproof as a Land Cruiser for pennies on the dollar, like 2 Range Rover payments, and you almost have a Land Cruiser. like seriously, a car that will last you over 400,000 miles, which no Range Rover will, that you can drive from here to Kingdom Come. When you go to some of the roughest parts of the world, what do you see in these vlogs? People driving 100 Series Land Cruisers in the middle of the desert, in the Antarctic. All over the world, the 100 Series Land Cruiser is the default car of choice when you need something that's going to stand the test of time. But not only does it stand the test of time well, it does it comfortably. Like, it feels like you're driving in like a old school plush Lexus LS or something like that. And for me personally, that's something that I absolutely just love about this car, because as y'all have, my wife said in the first part of the video, we've done multiple road trips in these cars. We've done off-roading, camping. We have literally lived in these things for a few weeks, and they are just, hey, they are open. Yes, we're going to this local market right here to get some goodies, but I'm gonna loop around here as I talk and then come back. But these things, hey, it's Santa Claus. Wait, was that Santa Claus or the Geico Caveman? I don't know if y'all got that on, if you got it on camera, but we should pause it to see if we actually got that guy. But we look like we saw like a Viking, I don't know what. But anyway, Land Cruiser. How many minutes have I been talking now? 4. 4 minutes? Okay, so let me just wrap this up. Wow, look at this hill. Okay, look at this hill right here. This is a perfect example. If I ran anything else, I would be scared to go down this hill for fear I might not make it back up. But since I'm in a 100 Series Land Cruiser, since I have my BFG KO2s on, I don't even have to second guess it. I can go down this hill and I can go back up without worry. And that living without worry part, that is what it is all about for me, because having all those other cars is fun, it's nice. I've had 997, 996, Cayenne Turbo, G-Wagons, E55s. We've had a lot of cars on this channel. But I don't think I've ever been as happy as I have ever been than current state of everything, being in this Land Cruiser state. It's just so worry-free. I don't have to have the anxiety of my car breaking or something catastrophic happening that's going to cost me thousands of dollars to fix. I can just crank my car up. It works. Like, when we come from the airport after these trips these days, you know, like back in the day with some of these German cars, you'd be like, well, is the battery flat? I don't know. We've been gone for 2 weeks. Land Cruiser, you jump in it, you've been gone for 2 or 3 weeks, it just cranks up.
Yep, no issues. No
issues. You never have to worry about it. And after you've been traveling for a long time, there's nothing more relaxing than getting in your own Land Cruiser and driving home, because all these rentals that we've had, and we've had a lot of them. I've driven a lot of modern cars. I know my wife said that she hasn't, but I have driven a lot of modern cars. And the only thing that passes by me on the road that I'm just like, ooh, I still would like to have one, is a G-Wagon. That's the only other car.
Which we did have one.
Which we did have a G-Wagon, but I would love to have another G-Wagon someday. But everything else, like I look at 911s and they're still sexy to me, but I just like, I remember one day, I just want to say this one last thing. I remember one day I went to Home Depot to buy something, I can't remember what it was, and I was driving my 997 at the time. And I remember thinking to myself like, oh dang, how am I going to get this home? I cannot, with kids and family and everything else, speaking of G-Wagon, that's a beautiful blue one right there. With kids and family and everything, like that's anxiety and thoughts that I just don't need to deal with. If you're going to have a 911 for a point A to point A car, then okay. But for it to be your daily driver with family, it's just like, yeah, I don't want to do that extra math. So anyway, I love this car. I love both of our Land Cruisers. They're amazing. They're comfortable. We drive them all the time, everywhere. They're not garage queens by any stretch of the measure. I'm about to drive over a crazy curb right now because I can. And yeah, just don't have to worry about it.
One thing I wanted to say, which we didn't, although we have 2 of these and they are 6 years apart, they drive very differently.
They do, yeah.
It's completely different feel getting into the one I drive versus the one that you drive.
Yeah, that is true.
But both of them still extremely comfortable. And kind of backpedal to that piece where you're saying we rented that BMW and it was a nightmare of a 9-hour drive. We actually had to drop it off at the airport and get into the Land Cruiser. And the feeling of switching from that to this was incredible.
And for those who might be curious, it was an X5 or X3, but it was brand new and it had less than 5,000 miles on it. And it was the 2024 or 2025. But it was a brand new model with less than 10,000 miles. And it was horrible. It had it had way too much going on, and it had some weird thing that was trying to constantly correct us when steering, and we didn't even figure out how to turn it off until the end of the trip. It was just a nightmare car to drive, and that
was the worst trip we've taken from Miami, and we've done a lot of these drives. And in last 8 years, we've probably been there, I don't know, 15 times.
Yeah,
that was the worst ride we've ever had.
Absolutely. We barely made it back home on that one. But anyway, Happy New Year's, everyone. Snow day in Atlanta is beautiful, as you can see. I don't know if y'all can see that massive snowbank back there. We'll overlay it. But it is beautiful here right now. We never get this much snow, so I just want to say Happy New Year. Give y'all update on owning 2 Land Cruisers after 2 years plus, and show y'all a beautiful snow day in Atlanta, because we don't get this type of snow. Like, I can't remember ever getting it. Like, maybe like when I was a child. But care about your life. Happy New Year. We'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.